Thank you very much. We're going to get started the next event pretty soon. If you can get your drink and go back to your seat, it'd be very much appreciated. Thank you. Yeah, we're going to start the next event, please, colleagues. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, colleagues. If you can grab your coffee and your water and go back to your seats. All right, wonderful. All right, thank you, colleagues. We're going to start the last session of the day, and we're very proud of this one. It's called the Communities Climate Adaptation Facility. Exactly 1 year ago today, we launched the facility in this very spot, actually, with the champion leaders that we have today on the notion that we can challenge the norm that climate financing is too slow, it's too little, and it can't be done. And so we decided to take on the challenge of creating a facility that is rapid response. You know, some of us were peacekeepers in the UN, and that's what's called the quick impact grants. And the idea is to get the grant now in 8 weeks in a post-conflict or ongoing conflict situation. And we said, well, why can't we do the same thing in a climate context? And so we got to work in the past 9 months or so. We've been studying all the facilities, rapid response things, and studied the positives and the negatives, and we put together this what we call the C-CAF or Communities Climate Adaptation Facility, so that we can get the grants out within under 90 days up to $100,000 USD. And so we're very proud of this session. It's 1 year anniversary. We're really lucky to have all the champion leaders here to talk about the experience so far and the promise of this facility moving forward. The welcoming remarks will be our Climate Mobility Elders Group Chair, former President of Botswana, Masisi. If I could have you on the stage, sir. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, clearly the very proud moment has come. Excellencies, distinguished leaders, colleagues, and very dear friends. It's a great honor to welcome you to this high-level reception on localizing climate finance through the Communities Climate Adaptation Facility, or C-CAF. Today, just 12 months after the C-CAF was launched, we have the privilege to witness the remarkable progress of this initiative. I want to sincerely commend the leaders present today. Excellencies, you embarked on this transformative journey for your communities with courage and with determination. Your call to action provided the impetus to create the C-CAF, and it is already enabling frontline communities to protect their homes, to protect their livelihoods and heritage from the existential threat of climate change. Today is not only a milestone, it is proof that with vision and commitment, global promises can be turned into local action. The C-CAF shows us what is possible when finance is localized, when communities are empowered, and when global solidarity meets local leadership. Before we turn to the speakers, the GCCM team has prepared a very short video on the first ever C-CAF grant project that has been selected within the stipulated 30 days. From call or proposal to rigorous review. This project is in Fiji, one of 5 countries participating in the current pilot phase of the C-CAF. I'll allow, please, a minute now, focus, to watch the video.
Amani be so live. And then they live to me sa tawai. Amani ni daki be so ngo liu. Ko mandangango erona ya wale ngo sa tuwai. Ngo sa gai sa sanga ti ko ngo mer sa to ke. Ko sanango indua ngango sa ngai wai. Vakando mong na daki be so ngo wana nindo tau na usa walu mai. Sasaragi tu ni tako si kena wena vakando mong bula. Kito wato yo mira ni tu vale mira go satu. Tok nga bagalili na ko muna ya hambo bakare bagi sarangan ni taun bina uda wulu lagi lamba. Imam min sa tako si kena wai kimam gesa sanga mai na tisarang ko mi kena mi tu tinggalan. Dan min dondo kana wulu. Mana ko sa min dondo kana wulu. Ini wirangan tara wali tinggalan kem dondo kin. Isa takos ko na wai gai hui ge bakan do membula. Ko yung mandangang tu kuna au maru ka live. Bibu ke live sa ka ko ngi sa kim sa tali ta ka sa ngai ko sa ka tina tutolongan ka satu. Catos ko men sisi. Kun rasa ra nang manugo nang laga ya sarut kim mandangan nang mereka itu kira nggak mereka itu rela na tiba-tiba mau marutan.
I'd now like to give the floor to our distinguished speakers. First, I'd like to invite His Excellency Sangurel Whips Jr., President of the Republic of Palau, to deliver his keynote remarks.
Good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, distinguished guests, and colleagues. You know, it is an honor to be here today at this high-level reception marking the 1-year anniversary of the Communities Climate Adaptation Facility. You know, this initiative represents a beacon of hope for the most vulnerable communities like ours, standing on the front lines of the climate crisis. You know, in May of this year, the Global Center for Climate Mobility visited Palau to announce the I can't say that word. I've been having a hard time. I was at AOSIS this morning and I got tongue-tied and I couldn't say it. Operationalization. Boy, it's just not coming out today. I got to come up with a new word. But, you know, shortly thereafter, we signed an agreement to launch our first project. And, you know, I just have to share that this was, we go around the world. I know Minister Ralph from Vanuatu, and we're always talking about access to finance, access to finance. It's so slow. There's so much red tape. It can't get done. And this is a program, I think, that breaks all those rules. And that's what we need to see. So you come out in May, and that's, you know, that swift action demonstrates the level of urgency and speed at which we must operate. You know, the climate crisis is not waiting, and neither can we. Earlier today, I was at the general debate, and I mentioned that $3 trillion, almost $3 trillion, was spent last year on defense budgets. And it continues to grow. Seems like there's no limit on how much we can spend on defense, but when it comes to climate, there's all kinds of limits. So this is about breaking those limits, about changing the way we do things. And let's not forget that we're in a war. And the war that we're against is rising tides that are entering our homes. It's strong winds that are blowing off our roofs. It's salt water getting into our farms and food sources. and it's a battle for survival. So we need financing, and we need it fast. And that's what C-CAF is all about. It's not just a funding mechanism, it's a lifeline. It empowers our communities to lead the charge in adapting to the immediate threats that we face. In Palau, we have the Ngesau Watershed Rehabilitation Program. And this is so important because, unfortunately, we didn't used to have droughts, and now we have droughts. And it is important that we restore fresh water systems that actually traditionally we used, but because of our modern water system, we went and depended on it, but it's susceptible to the drought. So it's bringing that back to life, using those traditional resources, enhancing sanitation, but then using the community to do the project. And that ultimately builds community resilience, which is what this is all about. So ultimately, the project is grounded in the principles of community empowerment, environmental stewardship, and inclusive development. Engaging, most importantly, our youth, because you got to get their hands dirty. They have to be involved, and learning and ensuring that that traditional knowledge is passed down. Palau is really proud to be part of this transformative initiative. And Kamal, I still remember when we were in the Cook Islands and we talked about that. This was about 2 years ago. And now to see it actually happening and projects happening is just, most importantly for me, I think it gives our people hope. Because, a lot of times they ask, why are you going there? You're just wasting money to go talk again and time, and nothing gets done. No, we need action, and this is what action is all about. So, together we can turn the tide. We can secure a sustainable future. And, I was just on 3 interviews before I came, and they were asking me about the climate con that we're all in. And I said, well, some people may think that, but for us, we live it. And they said, well, you've lost hope? And I said, absolutely not. It just means that we've got to work harder, and we've got to let the world understand what we're facing and how we can work together to solve those problems. So really, thank you so much for the support. Thank you for all being here. And it means we need to work harder so that we can get all those people that think we're conning them to change their opinion. But anyway, thank you. Olam Sudan.
Wonderful testimony. I'd now like to invite Her Excellency Joe Clark, the Minister for Environment for St. Kitts Nevis, to deliver a keynote address.
Greetings, everyone. I promise this is the last time you'll see me here today. But it really gives me so much pleasure to join my colleague ministers and champion ministers here with GCCM to speak about, as the President mentioned, a project that's breaking all the rules in the right way. We gather here understanding that we can no longer disregard the climate crisis. It's not a distant threat for our islands. It's like every day. It's what we live. It's what we experience. And importantly, it's unfolding faster, it's hitting harder, it's exposing the inequalities deeply embedded in our local and global systems and our preparedness and response systems as well. So I believe that all of us here today are well positioned not only to pinpoint the specific sources of the challenges that we face, but to go the necessary steps together to elevate our shared ambition into collective action. And this is what this project is about. Take, for example, in St. Kitts with our community adaptation projects, we, through the partnership with GCCM, a very short window, it was unbelievable turnaround, intense, but from the political will and support from our Prime Minister, who said, yes, do it tomorrow. GCCM team supporting us every single day through every step, establishing our national steering committee who were voluntarily helping our groups working on these programs together on developing their projects, to the community groups who reached out via WhatsApp, social media, called, visited the office because they were so interested in finally having an opportunity to access funding, which didn't need a lot of bureaucracy and hurdles. And now we have been able to, let's say, locally approve or launch our projects to empower vulnerable frontline communities through rapid response adaptation grants and assist their development and execution of locally led climate solutions ranging from climate smart irrigation, quail egg production and hydroponic vegetable production, solar powered water harvesting for the advancement of our agricultural systems and food security capacity, to jetty restoration, artificial reef deployment and building climate-proof lockers to reduce the risk of flooding and mitigate coastal zone erosion. All these projects are driven by homegrown, local ideas and innovation based on real lived realities. As a government, we didn't go and say, you should do this and you should do that. They experienced these challenges and they came up with the innovations and the solutions. And this is also something that we have to be proud, proliferate, and celebrate. What makes this initiative so powerful is not just the mobilization of financing itself, but the way it works and the way GCCM works. Quick, flexible, community-driven, rooted in both agricultural and people-first partnership. And of course, C-CAF is proof that accessible financing can indeed be effectively distributed and it can be channeled directly to communities, bypass government, bypass all the systems, help communities, provided with trust and consideration for their local indigenous knowledge, for their capacity, for their agency, and for their ability to do for themselves with our support. And it can strengthen communities and provide a model for transformation across small island developing states if we act correctly and if we act together. From these experiences, the lessons are clear. Resilience demands that we bring everybody in the room with their ideas, that nobody can do it alone, that small island developing states are incubators of climate innovation, and we have to enhance this. And of course, colleagues, as I close, I believe it's high time that we properly nourish the bonds that we share with each other and our allyship to feed into community-centered approaches as a cohesive, lasting solution. Needless to say, I'm very pleased that we are aligned in commitment across the Caribbean, the Pacific, and Africa, and globally. And once we continue working with GCCM, I think we're going to change the world positively. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Madam Minister. I'd like now to invite His Excellency Mr. Moses Tuvalu, Minister of Environment of the Republic of Fiji, to deliver his keynote address. Minister.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates and colleagues, thank you, His Excellency former President Masisi, and also the Chair of the Climate Mobility Elders, and His Excellency President of Palau, and fellow honorable ministers. It is a privilege for Fiji to join this one-year anniversary of the Communities Climate Adaptation Facility, C-CAF. I thank the Global Center for Climate Mobility and the UN Office for Project Services, UNOPS, for bringing us together and for advancing a vision of climate finance that is fast, flexible, and truly community-driven. Grant-based, predictable finance must flow directly to the front lines, to the seeds and the communities who need it most. The current labyrinth of application process is a wall we cannot climb. We need finance that is agile, accessible, and designed for community-level implementation. For Fiji, this initiative speaks directly to the heart of our national priorities. 3 of our communities, Vanuatu, Narata in the province of Nanrunga, and Vanuatu in Neitasiri, the village you've just watched in the video that was played, are among the first to receive C-CAF Rapid Response Adaptation Grants. These grants will enable them to design and implement locally led actions that strengthen resilience, protect livelihoods, and safeguard culture and heritage in the face of evolving climate risks. For my people and citizens of small island developing states, this threat is not abstract. It is the saltwater relentlessly claiming our farms, the erosion swallowing our shorelines, and the constant fear that a single storm could erase a village, a culture, and a history. C-CAF empowers our people to take charge of their own adaptation pathways, whether that involves addressing immediate hazards, planning for a long-term climate impacts, or sustaining social and cultural fabric that defines who we are. The Pacific stands on the front lines of climate crisis. C-CAF direct-to-community financing fills a critical gap by delivering timely, small-scale support that complements Fiji's national adaptation plan. As we look ahead to COP30 and beyond, Fiji urges partners to scale up and replicate these models of community-driven climate finance so that more vulnerable communities across small island developing states can access predictable and transformational finance that allows them to build durable local-led resilience. We stand ready to work with every one of you to scale up the ambition, unlock the necessary finance, and provide the leadership required to fulfill the promise of a safe and sustainable future. Vinava level, and I thank you all.
Thank you so much, Minister. I'd like now to invite His Excellency Minister Ralph Reginvanu, Minister of Environment of the Republic of Vanuatu, to deliver his keynote address. Minister.
Good afternoon, Excellencies, colleagues, distinguished guests. We're honored, Vanuatu is honored to stand here today on the on this reception to Localized Climate Finance, and on the 1-year anniversary, as we heard. This Communities Climate Adaptation Facility is already making a tangible difference for communities on the front line, mainly in terms of giving them hope that they can have their priorities funded. And I think that's very important about this facility. Similar to the experience with Palau, we received a mission from the team here in earlier this year in April, and we signed this agreement in Nice in June. And we're encouraged to see how fast it's going. So 3 projects have been selected in Vanuatu. I want to talk about them. So one is on an island called Akam, south of the larger island of Malakula, and it's an island where there's a southeast trade winds that's coming in and sort of washing away one side of the island. And they've tried lots of things to try and stop it. They've planted mangroves, installed gabion baskets. It's not doing, they're losing the battle. And the church, which they built right on the shoreline, its foundations are starting to be exposed. We did a deep dive with them through the Department of Climate Change, came up with their idea of what they wanted to do to attempt to stop the erosion, and came up with a funding proposal, and we're now going to get the funding. And it's going to be, the community's plan is going to be implemented. And I know they will be very happy to hear that their plan is now got a funder and funding. Makura is another small island. Unlike Akam, it's got quite a large hill, but the community lives right on the coast, on the beach. And of course, they're going to have to move. And they've been planning this move for a long time. A lot of the community lives in Port Vila, in the city, so they have to come together to talk about it with the families from Vila. And this plan that they have had, when they heard about the application process, they applied and they've now got the funding to implement their plan that they put in place for moving up the hill in an orderly way according to how they've planned it. And on Eramango, there's a community organization there that applied for a multi-purpose hall which can be used as an evacuation center, a community center, a school. So a hall to be built to the standards we need to withstand the increasingly severe cyclones we're getting in Vanuatu. And so they now have the means to do that as well. So I just want to say that having communities having direct access to funding for projects they design themselves is resilience in action. It is what resilience means in this era of climate change, where communities are provided the means from the international community to implement the plans that they have developed themselves for dealing with this crisis. So we're deeply grateful to GCCM for making this possible. And this fund demonstrates that when communities are trusted and supported, adaptation becomes more than just a policy, it becomes a lived reality of building resilience for these communities. So as implementation begins, we encourage GCCM to continue working with us in the government of Vanuatu to ensure all projects align with our national systems, but also they can be owned and accessed by the communities themselves. This partnership, as we all know, comes at an historic moment when we have just 2 months ago received the advisory opinion of the ICJ, which affirms that states have binding obligations under international law to prevent harm to the climate system, to protect human rights and safeguard future generations. This funding of community, self-determined community action to build resilience is a demonstration of what the operationalization of these, see, I just said that word, of these legal obligations can be. The C-CAF is engaged in the same spirit as the advisory opinion about responsibility, agency, sovereignty, self-determination. It's they signal this new post-AO environment in which we need to start to work. So Vanuatu will continue to champion a bold and rights-based solutions at home and globally. And I want to thank GCM for your partnership with Vanuatu in making this possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. I'd like now to invite Ms. Stephanie Beck, the head of special initiatives at the Green Climate Fund, to deliver her keynote address. Ms. Beck.
Good evening, everyone. Do not get confused by the photo of Henry. And I'm clearly not Henry. Henry sends his apologies. As gifted as Henry is, he is also about 25 blocks north of us, and even with all of his gifts, he's not able to be here in the time. So it's my privilege to represent the Green Climate Fund tonight. And I do so with a great feeling of pride. I'm a child of the Pacific. I'm Australian. I grew up in the highlands of Papua New Guinea, and I spend probably my most joyous moments often in Fiji, where I sit on the board of the Fijian Drua, watching the greatest sport on earth. And so I feel like I share the dismay of many small island developing states at the words that we heard on the floor of Unga earlier this week. And my daughter, who's 13, could easily recognize what was fiction and what was non-fiction. Because we know the reality, don't we? We know about the shrinking shorelines. We know about the displacement of our people, the potential loss of sovereignty, the salt creeping into our water systems, the loss of traditional food products, disease vectors growing, extreme weather events. But I feel sometimes, in the midst of when we see big problems, we think everything needs a big solution. And I think what we've heard tonight and the solution that is being put through by GCCM and C-CAF really points in another direction. It says problems can be solved the small island way, through faith and family. Because we know in these locations, what gets done locally is creative, it's owned, and it's sustainable. GCF cops some criticism, and potentially rightly so, for our work with small island developing states. We're not the fastest fund on the block. We have $2 billion committed to SIDS, and that's 12% of our portfolio. It's actually 3 times the amount of any other international funder. We've heard a lot over the last years from people in this room about needing to be faster, simpler, smarter. And I believe and I hope that we're beginning to deliver on that. You asked for smarter. We said, here is 4 years of readiness money in one go. You asked for simpler. We said agencies don't need to be re-accredited. You asked for faster, and we said 6 weeks to review a concept note and 9 months to get it to board. And we're in the delivery mode of those promises. Please keep us on track. Let me conclude by saying that we hope, with extensive discussions with GCCM over the last several months, we hope to be able to share good news about our engagement with this very, very significant initiative sometime shortly. Because my hope is that together, the people in this room, we can actually make the lies that were delivered on the floor of UNGA earlier this week the truth. That we no longer need to worry about climate change. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like now to invite His Excellency Kelani Kaneko, the Foreign Minister of the Republic of the Marshall Islands, to deliver his keynote address.
Excellencies, colleague ministers, and friends, please allow me to bring warm yakwe and komol dada on behalf of Her Excellency President Yildiz Aini of the Marshall Islands, the people and the government. And I would like to take this opportunity also to thank our organizers for gathering us here this evening. I am glad to be at this important event focused on community-led climate adaptation. I also acknowledge and congratulate you on these successful projects, and sharing successful projects and showcasing will bend the needle and will change the status quo and will move climate financing much faster than what we experienced in the past. In the Marshall Islands, an atoll nation like our sisters and brothers in Tuvalu, we face immense challenges when it comes to adaptation. We have already begun to address these challenges, but the road ahead is a long one. And for the Marshallese people, community is at the heart of our culture. So we will travel this road to climate resilience together. In preparing our national adaptation plan, we undertook a comprehensive community consultation across all of our islands. This was a substantial undertaking, but it has it has resulted in a national adaptation plan that we can truly say reflects the views and the insights of our citizens. One thing this consultation made clear is that the overwhelming preference of our people is to continue living on our islands. This was what 90% of our citizens we spoke to said to our leaders. What we need now, therefore, are financial resources and capacity building to implement our NAP, our survival plan. We have to listen carefully to the advice of the experts on the steps needed to attract and effectively manage those financial resources, while also maintaining national ownership and building national capacity. Because while we always welcome technical expertise, we want to advance marshally solutions that are fit for purpose and for Marshallese circumstances. One way we are doing this is through the establishment of the Marshall Islands Resilience and Adaptation Fund. We call it the MIRA Fund. The fund that will be locally led and locally managed and operate as a one-stop shop for the funders and partners, both bilateral and multilateral, who are committed to supporting RMI in addressing climate impacts. Like our NAP, the MIRA Fund is being built to last. For this reason, I'm extremely interested to hear an update about the first C-CAF pilot projects, the lessons learned, benefits provided, and potential to continue expanding and developing this program in the future. We have been saying this week that it is important to celebrate our success, even as we double down to continue our vital work. So we look forward to learning more about the achievements of this program and how we might engage with it in the years to come. I thank you for your attention. Komoldada.
Thank you very much, Minister. I'd now like to invite Her Excellency Siena-Takala Tuitai, Minister for Internal Affairs, Youth and Employment in the Kingdom of Tonga, to deliver her keynote address.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and it is indeed a privilege to be here today, although we arrived late, but thank you. I come from Tonga. It's with a population of 100,000, 52% women. There are about 100,000 in New Zealand, Tongans, 100,000 in Australia, and about 100,000 here in the US, but in the western coast. And our climate adaptation is very much community-based, because we live in tight-knitted kainga, or extended families, in the villages and the communities, and faith. organizations. So looking at our topic today, we are very pleased with localizing climate financing through Communities Climate Adaptation Facility, because that's who we are. We are very much community-based. It's a small island country, and very much at the village level. Mainly agro-based, although over the years it's declining in percentage because of the retail activities, but Tonga is still very much an agricultural based economy. With the communities activities mainly based on the root crops, and women, they play a very vital role in the agricultural sector, particularly in connection with weaving mats, fine mats, and making our tapa. And after the Hungatonga Hungahapai volcanic eruption back in 2022, our raw materials for tapa making and weaving very much affected, as well as our other agricultural producers, food producers, which also further, talking about export, the cost of freight, New Zealand, Australia, and the States more than doubled. But then, that's who we are, mainly agricultural based, and like women, they really play a vital role in informal income generation activities, particularly weaving and tapa making. And it is indeed a great privilege to be invited to be here today and have this good news of this facility, which is community based, which is very much and tailored, more suitable, I would say, to our island nation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. Before moving to concluding speeches, I'd like to invite you to watch yet another short video produced by the GCCM on the C-CAF grants. Thank you.
The Communities Climate Adaptation Facility, or C-CAF, led by the Global Center for Climate Mobility, empowers frontline communities facing rising seas and climate shocks. Through quick impact grants, C-CAF bridges gaps in climate finance, enabling local people to build resilience, restore ecosystems, and lead their own adaptation journeys.
I'm Kevin Bennett, the Vice Chair of the Capacity Project Development Committee. Our project addresses some critical issues. One is the extension of the jetty. 2, the creation of artificial reef. And 3, the deployment of monitor-based buoys, which collect critical information. Our community faces quite a number of challenges. 1 is declining fish stocks. 2, we also had issues with the lack of navigational aids. Previously we have incident where a vessel ran aground on the reef, and it's something which has been happening continuously over the years. And the vessels not only cause damage to the reefs, but the vessels themselves become damaged. We've seen quite a number of significant changes already in terms of there's a closer collaboration among the different persons within the community. And over the coming months, we hope to see that this level of cooperation and collaboration will continue to improve and grow. The difference that the funds make by going directly into the community is essentially to support and empower the entire community, as they're the ones who will be benefiting from this very important funding.
I think one of the next issues is getting proper data. With all these issues that we face, I think this grant would actually aid and help us greatly with getting marker buoys for the channel so vessels can navigate safely. Also, data monitoring system, which we would collab with DMR, so we can get proper data on the reef, like the life on the reef, the temperature at the sea level, so we could actually have a better picture of what's going on the reef and look at ways to correct all of these issues that we're having with the reef, which serve as a protective area for the community, which is below sea level. And because of climate change is such a big risk because of the rise in water levels. So if we do not get this data and try to improve the condition of the reefs, it would be a very big problem for the community in the years to come. But in the interim, what we'll try to do is implement artificial reefs, because just going for restoration, it will take a longer period of time for these corals to grow back. So we'll, in the interim, try to get artificial reef where now we could create nurseries for fishes, lobsters, to help increase the depleted stock of fish and lobsters that we are having issues with right now because of climate change.
Community-led adaptation is extremely important because you need the support of the local community for any project or any objective to work. If all persons are working together and they follow the same rules, the same policies and certain protocols, then you're able to achieve so much more.
My name is Delanda Levine, and my initiative here is quail husbandry and hydroponics. The quail husbandry and hydroponics is going to be used to not only combat climate crisis, but also to demonstrate to persons in the community at our demonstration center that is going to be on the farm how we go about dealing with quails and also hydroponics. The climate-related challenges that we were facing are water shortages and heat. The place was getting very hot. So how it was impacting our community, we would have, for instance, our poultry being affected by the heat, getting heat stroke, as well as water being turned off at certain points in the day, as well as our crops being burnt or scorched from the sun. C-CAF and GCCM, the initiative is a brick and mortar initiative. We, as small group communities, we feel the brunt of the pressure. We are on the ground. So this initiative impacts us because we are the persons that are feeling the brunt of the pressure. So we are able to make the most change in a shorter period of time. This direct funding and the pledge by the C-CAF and the GCCM group, we are able to, well, head on the challenges that are being faced currently because we feel the brunt of the pressure when we are on the ground. So it boosts community morale as well as boosts food security on the island, because we are then now able to produce something that is more healthier for our community, and as well we are advancing our community with new farming techniques and so forth. Climate change is happening both to me and to you. So it's incumbent on us to all get on stream and get on board to combat climate change as community groups and groups on the whole. I would like to say thanks to C-CAF and GCCM for their introduction of these funds and grants for us to adapt to these climate changes in some small way to move forward to phase 1 and phase 2 of certain projects. And I would like to say that these grants would help our community and our community groups push further into combating climate change.
My name is Lionel Stevens, President of the Sandy Point Agricultural Cooperative Society Limited. And our project is geared towards addressing water shortages for farmers. Here in St. Kitts in general, water for farming is not a priority, is not necessarily part of the policy. So we as farmers have to find alternative means of accessing water for continuous production. This support that we would be receiving from C-CAF would help the community to be more sustainable in terms of food production, because the farming entity of the community getting such a support as it relates to water harvesting and being able to store water for dry periods, it kind of ensures that we are in a position to continuously produce food. and make it available for the community. With this assistance, we hope to increase production in different crops. Also, we hope to be able to be in a position to better manage pest and disease, knowing that a lot of times you need water to apply insecticides, nutrients, so having water really helps. We give thanks for this assistance, and we sure will use it to our best of our ability and ensure that the community feels a lift from this in terms of food and food security.
I'd like now to call upon Dr. Rafael Schweiger, Director of Migration, Immigration Society and Global Issues at the Robert Bosch Foundation, to deliver her remarks.
Well, thank you so much, Excellencies. And my role here is to congratulate you all on behalf of the group of donors who've contributed inaugurally to this Communities Climate Adaptation Facility. You have made this vision a reality within a year. And I remember when we stood here last year and announced a commitment from our side. We were one of the first. No grants had gone through. We made the commitment. And a year later, we are standing here seeing already how this facility is changing lives. And I think this is one very particular aspect of being fast, of being agile, and really responding to the needs of the communities. And we heard over the last 2 days the call for action, what should happen, what needs to happen, and this facility is delivering in such a fast and incredible way. And as a donor, as somebody who's investing in this, who believed in this from the beginning, I'm honored to stand here with you and seeing what's happening. I want to say a few words also about the methodology, because I think that's truly important of how this has been set up. Because the fund is not only directing these smaller scale grants to communities, but it's also ensuring in the selection process to work with, of course, the government, but also other partners, NGOs, civil society, multilateral partners, international partners like philanthropy, to make sure that these sustain, that it's not a one-off project that then ends, and really build that in from the beginning. And for us as investors, this is truly something important and special, and looking at the sustainability of these initiatives. Also, how the grants are selected, who is involved, who is part of the process to make also that community driven, is something that we very much value. So this is exactly the initiative we believe in. I'm also here to say the work is only beginning. When we look at the scale of the challenges, when we look at the scale of what is needed, this is our celebratory moment, and tomorrow let's get to work to get more resources, more projects on the ground going in order to respond to everything that we talked about the last 2 days, here. We are proud to be a partner. We need more investment, so let's work on that. We will walk along with you on this journey, and we will be by the side. We will be very excited to see how the projects evolve, more projects, more countries coming on board, and hopefully also more partners for the facilities to be on board. So let's celebrate tonight, get to work tomorrow. Thank you so much for all the hard work that has been put into this.
I'd now like to invite Professor Kamal Amkarani, Managing Director at the Global Center for Climate Mobility, to deliver his concluding remarks. Prof.
I have to admit that
sometimes you're filled with joy for what we can achieve together, and particularly for those who work in the corridors of the UN. We talk a lot, we dream a lot, but sometimes we don't achieve the impact. We don't see that impact happening fast or happening at all. So with the C-CAF, we were able to achieve what you wanted, what was needed, and what should have happened long time ago. I would like to take this opportunity to highlight 3 points. First is our sincere thanks to the trust of the governments who worked with us closely on a different methodology, a different approach. I would like to thank all the government ministries that committed to be part of all the selection committees, technical advisory groups, NGOs, CSOs, UN agencies on the ground who were part of that exercise, ensuring complementarity, transparency. I would like also to thank all the international partners that voluntarily served in all this infrastructure to deliver these projects in a very fast and a very timely manner. And as it was done, it was very inclusive and it was very transparent. And we are very proud of their work, and we're very grateful for their contribution. I cannot thank enough the hardworking local ecosystem representative who made this possible, and particularly those who worked closely with the communities. I also would like to thank some of our own fellows, particularly my colleague working in St. Kitts and Nevis, the fellows who, please Roy, you know, our fellows on the ground, whether in Vanuatu, in Fiji, in St. Kitts and Nevis, in Palau, all the pilot countries in Tuvalu were on the forefront of this exercise, and they were the ones who worked closely with the communities. My friends, I wanted to share with you my dream, as I have the luxury of doing it. Our friend Stephanie talked about 12.5 billion that you have for the states. My dream is 1% of all commitments or money that is put forward for adaptation in the various funds is directed directly to communities. I know the obligations towards the center, but I think if we go to the roots, we can achieve social cohesion. It was repeatedly put forward today. It will ensure social peace, which is necessary for social cohesion, and much more. I was mentioned by our Minister of Tonga. It will keep the fabric of society together. 1%. It's 120 million just from the GCF for communities. You all know how many projects we will do in the 38 countries. Tons of these projects. My take is, as you know, all these member states, you signed on for the 1% for the bureaucracy of the UN system. The review of the development infrastructure imposed every dollar that is donated to the UN system, 1% goes to the bureaucracy. How can we fund the bureaucracy and the bureaucrats and not fund the communities? Something is wrong. So please, dream with me. Please, let's make sure that we can bring that 1% to the roots, to the local and to the communities. On this note, I thank you all for your trust. I thank you for your presence, and I thank you for dreaming with us. Thank you very much. Good ending note. As we come to the close of this inspiring reception, let me extend heartfelt thanks to all the leaders who have spoken this evening. Your powerful words and message, and above all, your actions remind us that local climate finance is not only urgent, it is possible, it is transformative, and already changing lives. I'd like also to very warmly thank the team at the Global Center for Climate Mobility for their tireless work in organizing this gathering and for their vision in bringing the Communities Climate Adaptation Facility from concept to reality. A big round of applause. Tonight, we have celebrated not only the projects already underway, but the promise of what lies ahead. Let us carry this momentum forward together to ensure that frontline communities continue to be empowered with the tools and resources they need to thrive. I thank you, good evening, and happily, there's plenty of food and drinks. Stick around.